I did this interview like this with this French journalist once. She said, your films are all the same. She said, you have a central protagonist who's always a male, and he faces insurmountable odds and he overcomes them. And I was like, oh, right, okay.
Danny, thank you so much for talking to me. Very excited for 28 years later.
Very nice to be here.
There's been this image going viral that you've probably seen while you were there. You saw it live, but the 20 iPhone camera rig.
Oh, yeah.
Is what everybody's losing their minds over. And I want to know, how important is how these films look to the story you're trying to tell? Because 28 Days Later was obviously very innovative visually as well. You used the Canon XL1, I think it was?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
One of the first digital, widely distributed movies.
Yes, it was, yeah.
And now you've got this unique aspect ratio, you've got the iPhones. So what's the deal with trying to, use these different kinds of rigs and camera setups for these movies specifically?
You're always trying to try and develop an idea within the form which it's going to be presented in that actually reflects the subject matter in some way, so that the form and the content, if you call them those, fuse. They rarely do, and you rarely notice whether they do or not, but if they do, you get a supercharged feeling, I think. So when we came to develop this 28 years later, you set yourself the same questions. You go, well, what would be available? What's there now? And of course, nothing is. And they're literally analog natives now. They're not even analog, they don't even have power. Yeah. They don't have electricity. So we thought, well, let's use a very basic, everyday format, which is an iPhone, for instance.
The iPhone is the natural progression of that same idea.
In a way it is, and everybody's got them, and everybody knows about them and stuff like that. And they do shoot 4K now. It's not like the original, which was some of the shots, Killian is literally a few pixels. Yeah. You can't literally see him. You're just looking at blobs of colour in the street, in the London street, but we got away with it. And this time we thought, no, and then we thought, let's use this format. And it's quite rare, there's not many films shot on it. And it's a super wide format, and it makes you feel like we wanted to be able to see that nature was just there, and it was continuing, as it will. It will just keep going without us. You know, we're the ones that put cities on nature and crush the trees down and put our cities on top of it. And here was just nature re-establishing itself like that. And then you have this added thing that they could be anywhere, the danger could be anywhere within that format. It's not a format that you can sort of take in like that, you have to scan it. Like Tarantino uses it brilliantly, he uses widescreen brilliantly, because he lets you edit. He's asking you to go, where are you going to look?
Tension when you're looking.
Yeah, where are you going to look? Where are you going to look? That's up to you. I'm not like that. I tend to edit so that you kind of like will follow where I want you to look. Yeah. But he's amazing like that. Hateful Eight was shot on that.
Ben-Hur, right?
Yes, and Ben-Hur and Battle of the Bulge and Oppenheimer and The Creator. Wonderful movie. Yeah. I love The Creator. That's a beautiful movie. And then we thought, let's not just use iPhones. So we used there's a number of different techniques in using it, but we gather around this idea that eventually these can be gathered together as a pack. And there is this idea in the film that packs gather, as you'll see when you see it. There are, at different times, different packs gather. So we pack the cameras at certain points, and there's a terrifying shot which uses one of the big rigs, the 20 rig, which you have to see in the cinema because we can't show it on YouTube.
I know.
We wanted to put it on part of the trailers.
It looks like you used it for like a snorri cam kind of effect. Is that what it's doing? Is it fixed to the actor?
You can fix it to the actor. You can fix it to other bits of equipment as well, so you can move it. So it's not like, it's a poor man's bullet time from Matrix. Yeah. It's a poor man's version of that. Okay. That's an absolute solid rig, and that's the only way it works, is that it's built and everything else is brought into it. This you can take where you're going and what you're going to do with it. So that was the idea of it, to use it
I love
like
it.
That.
And you've collaborated a lot with the cinematographer, Anthony Dodmantle.
Yes.
Right? This is your 10th film, I think. Yeah. And so there's probably like a shorthand at this point when you guys come together for a project and you start hooking up these innovative rigs and stuff, right? Is it, I imagine?
Yeah, no, there is a shot, and there's also a battle because we fight.
Yeah, because you know each other really well.
Like, you know, and you're kind of like, and he's like, cinematographers are after perfection. That's just I think it's sort of built into the job, like a doctor will help you stay alive. Cinematographers will try and make things look perfect. They just do.
Yeah.
And I don't want that.
Right.
I'd quite like to crack that if we arrive at it. If you're lucky enough or fortunate enough to arrive at perfection, I'd love to crack it and change it, because I think that's what gets interesting. So we have this combative relationship, and he develops...
He's thinking about the 4K Blu-ray.
He's thinking about this extraordinary image, and I'm thinking, what can we put in it that's just going to really disturb you? Or can we use these in a way that'll kind of shutter it and actually make you think, what am I watching? What am I watching at that moment? Yeah, but it's a good relationship, with the cinematography.
Speaking of relationships, though, I mean, what's it like re-teaming with Alex Garland? But like decades and Academy Awards, he's directing all these huge films on his own now. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, is it different? Or, I mean, obviously there's different skills to bear, but...
No, we've always got on really well, and we fell out at the end of Sunshine. We had very different takes on the end of Sunshine, and we sort of like separated over that. But he was wonderful. I remember he wrote me this lovely note. He said, I'm sorry we fell out over Sunshine at the end. He said, it was a spiritual thing we fell out over, not, it was like about atheism versus a kind of spirituality thing that we fell out of it, which is quite interesting.
That's interesting.
But he says, I hope you go on, I hope the next one's really good for you. So, and the next one we did was Slumdog, which did very well. and then he did Ex Machina, which was amazing.
Yes,
and I remember seeing Ex Machina thinking, bloody hell. I'd have liked to have directed that, because he did a very good job.
I love that movie, and I love the ending of Sunshine. I know it's a controversial ending. One last quick question. I'm so fascinated that you've made so many different films from so many different genres, like Trainspotting, 28 Days Later, Slumdog Millionaire, Sunshine, The Beach. Do you approach these stories in a similar way? Is it always just grounding in the characters and their motivations, or are you conscious of, well, this has to be scary, or this, you know what I mean? Like, what is the difference? Because I think you're unique in that respect. That you do so many different genres.
You imagine that they're going to be incredibly different because they're different genres, and they're not really. I remember I did this interview like this with this French woman, this French journalist once, and she was like, "Your films are all the same," and I was like, are they? This is not the usual stuff that they usually say in these kind of interviews.
Yeah.
She said, your films are all the same. I said, I don't think so. I hope not. I try to use different genres to make them. She said, no, they're all the same. She said, you have a central protagonist who's always a male, and he faces insurmountable odds and he overcomes them. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And I think there is some truth in that you tend to, and other filmmakers have said this, you tend to make the same film again and again. You think you're not, but ultimately you are. Ultimately, it's really weird. I don't know. It's just, I think they're different, and I want them to be different, and I try to make them different. All I can tell you is the obsession is the same.
Yeah.
I don't do things lightly, thinking, oh, it'd be good to do something like that. You just become obsessed with an idea, and you think, that is interesting, and I'd want to see that because I love going to the cinema. I'd want to see that. If I was going to the cinema, I'd want to see that. I'd want to go. And sometimes they go, and sometimes they don't, and that breaks your heart. We were talking about it before all this began. We were talking about that, how it can break your heart, that. But you have to put up with it because you're lucky to be making these things. It's belief. To make a movie, it's crazy making movies if you think about it, because you're just trying to make real life. Well, real life exists out there the whole time. You can just go out and capture it. It's there, isn't it? But it's not, because in order to make it believable on the cinema screen, it takes 10 times longer than it should in order to do it. And you have to convince everybody that is worth it. That belief you have in that story and that idea is worth their time, their exhaustion, their kind of like, and that's what you're doing to the audience. You're saying, believe
the price
this.
of popcorn, Yeah,
it's just believe this. I know coming here's been a struggle. It's expensive and all this kind of stuff, but I want you to believe this and for it to change you in some tiny way.
Things done with passion have that effect, and a lot of your movies have done that to me. I'm so excited to see 28 years later, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Okay, sure.
Seriously,
Great.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Chris.